Democratic Party, and it is my pleasure today to welcome Councilmember B.J. Duncan of the town of Cutler Bay.
Thank you. Yes.
BJ is a very accomplished person, not only having served on the Cutler Bay Council. This is his 8th year.
Yes,
I believe he was elected and then reelected. But he is also a strategic communications and public relations specialist. He has been in charge of operations at FIU in terms of facilities and as well as affiliated with the Friends of Pinecrest Gardens, and in addition, the zoetic stage of the Adrian Arts Center. So very versatile individual, and for Cutler Bay, a hometown boy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You grew up there.
I did. And thank you for having me. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of kind of all over the place as far as I have a lot of interests, and I've always been the type of person, if there's something that you want to do, something you want to work towards, you want to accomplish, you should go for it and not be told you can't, or you should only focus on one thing. So yes, I do. My main bread and butter, I've been very proud to work at FIU. I'm in the College of Communication, Architecture, and the Arts, so operations for them, not the university as a whole.
Right.
But it's my alma mater. I've graduated there twice. And then Cutler Bay, yeah, I mean, born and raised. My parents are still there. I'm raising my kids there. My wife, we live there. So it's really just having the opportunity to serve on the town council these past 7+ years, almost 8 years. It's really been an honor. It's really been a joy seeing us kind of progress and move forward, and all the different projects that we've been able to accomplish, navigating the COVID pandemic and working towards just bringing people's lives to a better position. Over that time, it's been a joy. And then, yeah, I mean, with all the other things I do, I have a background in theater and the arts, and I really enjoy arts and culture. So that's where I kind of get my little artistic opportunities in working with Zoetic Stage. It's a nonprofit theater company here in South Florida, and they've been great. And then I'm completing a PhD in arts administration right now as well through the University of Kentucky. So, I'm lucky enough to be in good health and to be relatively young, not as young as I once was, but I have the opportunity to be able to focus on a lot of things. And of course, with Cutler Bay, I mean, that's always been the prime focus, and trying to do the best that I can for the town that raised me, the town that made me who I am. So I love every moment of it.
Well, speaking of age, you are just barely old enough to have experienced Hurricane Andrew.
But I experienced it, yes, absolutely.
Yes, the Cutler Bay was certainly, pre-incorporation.
Cutler Ridge, yes. We
bore the brunt, and for many years, really still showed signs of the effect. The Southland Mall and so forth.
For sure. Everywhere from about us south, and especially south into Homestead, and really those parts of South Dade, for 10+ years, 15. Even now, I'm sure if you go around to certain areas, they're still picking up the pieces for a storm that was over 30 years ago.
But you have been involved in the revitalization, the economic revitalization of Cutler Bay, and from what I understand, it's going to look different. It's going to feel different, but at the same time, I suspect you're trying to preserve the hometown feel.
For sure. And I think that's really one of those things that we value and we really placed an emphasis on in Cutler Bay. We have a great community. A lot of events, a lot of things that we do for our residents, and we have this small town atmosphere. So even though we're technically the 9th largest municipality in the county, excuse me, 9th largest municipality in all of Miami-Dade County, we still have and approach everything in this very small town, family friendly way of doing things. We don't want to be this big government, big city type, overlord, so to speak. Everything that we do and every decision we make lends itself to protecting that, because that's really what our residents love. And that's why we keep on having more and more people want to be a part of the community. They want to move in, they want to participate, because we foster that that feeling. So with all the picking up of the pieces of Andrew and any other storm that's come through since then, Irma and Katrina even, it's really making sure that we're putting our residents, we're putting our community leaders, our business partners in the position so that they can succeed, they can thrive economically. We can provide those opportunities to our residents as well without sacrificing anything that is making Cutler Bay what it is, which is really truthfully the gem of South Dade. And I'm of course biased. I'm absolutely biased on that. But in speaking to just people inside of town, outside of town, and all the other municipalities are great. But I think the way that we do things in Cutler Bay is just hands down, stronger and better. And our residents are happy for that.
So it's a balancing act.
Absolutely.
In essence, because you have growth. Obviously, people are coming in, but you want that growth to be smart growth.
Yes.
And reconciled with the feeling of local
for sure
control.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And I've noticed, especially in the last 8 years on the council, the very first application that came up was to build, a high-rise apartment right there on Old Cutler, mixed use, and it was zoned as such. But the reason it was coming before us was they were asking for certain variances. And from then on, from that very moment, I said, no, this is not feeding into the feel of this town. This is not supporting what our residents want. It's not supporting what the town wants. So very much so, I am pro development if it's done in a smart, efficient way. So with our town is, we cradle US 1 and we go to the Bay in South Dade. So our town center district, which is essentially the South End Mall, Cutler Ridge Mall area, which is under a massive redevelopment now, and everything up and down US 1, our town, for the most part, in our LDRs, our land development regulations, are built in a way to allow the density to be there. We don't want any of the density along Old Cutler, along Franjo Road, along any of the other arterial roads within our town. Those are meant for single-family residential. To an extent, sometimes in certain areas within the Saga Bay area, Lakes by the Bay area, we do have townhomes. We do have some condos, apartments. But it's a very much so single family residential area, and that's what we're trying to keep. And that, I think, goes into that small town feel as well, where you don't have to worry about having a 4 or 5 story high rise popping up next to you where people can look into your backyard, and you still have the opportunity to have the life you want in the house you want, in the property you want, and grow with that, and not worry about your neighborhood becoming something else. So, I mean, that's been the goal, and we've been very, very lucky thus far in being able to kind of push back. And we work well with all the developers that want to be in town. And I believe a lot of them understand that, which is why a lot of the times they'll come to us with things mainly in our bigger US 1 corridor.
So I noticed as far as the state budget is concerned, Cutler Bay can count itself lucky because there are actually 3 projects that made it into the state budget. You will find many other municipalities in Miami-Dade County that are batting zero on that. Can you describe a couple of those improvements that you envision?
And so, but I will say, we have a great team. Our town manager, our town staff, and the council, we work together. We have a team in Tallahassee as well that is just boots on the ground with every legislator, making sure that we're always in front of them. And the one thing that we do, and we pride ourselves on doing, is we're never looking for a handout for anything in Cutler Bay. We're looking for partners. And in the 8 years, so I've gone up to Tallahassee now at least 5-6 times, COVID exclusive. We've always gone, and every request we've ever made, we've had at least a match where we're matching whatever we're asking for, if not more than that. And I think that has really served us well because we've had a lot of projects funded during the last 8 years, and many of them are drainage or environmental type restoration projects that have been funded. So we've been very lucky because we're not looking for a handout. We're not looking for somebody to just do it for us. We want to partner with our legislators, with our state government, with our agencies to get as many resources as we possibly can to the town of Cutler Bay so that we can benefit people's lives. So luckily, and the budget hasn't been signed yet. We've gotten to this
Fingers
point
crossed.
before where we've had multiple projects in the budget, and sometimes we've been lucky where the red pen guy hasn't gotten into the governor's ear, and we've had money brought into the town. Other times we haven't. So luckily, hopefully, with this, we'll be successful. But mainly, the three that we have the operations center, the emergency operations center. So that would be part of our legacy park where our new town hall and community center is going to be. That was an ask where we're trying to build essentially a standalone police department instead of having the police department be operating out of our town hall building. The original idea for the police department was so that they would be there, have their own facilities, and they can control entrance, exit, and kind of do their thing. It would also be the only emergency operations center in South Dade at the moment, because right now you have FIU, you have other places where the Doral, but in South Dade we can have. It fills a very big void and need, especially coming around hurricane season and things of that nature, which is today. Absolutely. So, we'll cross our fingers and hope we have a good one and a quiet one. And then we have Bel Air Park, which that one used to have the Prine, the football, the kids football teams. Yeah, they would play out of there, but because the building itself is so old, it's essentially condemned and it can't safely be used. So we're looking at receiving some funding so that we can work on that, essentially tear it down, build up a brand new one, and then reuse and reopen Bel Air Park so that it can be used by the community again and not have to use other parks or other areas inside or even outside of town. And then we're always looking at, our other requests, we had, adult programming. We're always looking at drainage improvements. And that's one of the big, especially in Cutler Bay, as you know, it can rain in South Florida any day, and you can have, a regular rain of a couple inches here, or we had 26 inches in a weekend once. And that always has a problem with flooding and our ability to drain and the infrastructure within it. So we're always, every time we go to Tallahassee, we're always asking for funding for projects that improve our drainage and our stormwater capacity. So we've been lucky in some, and we'll see if we can continue to be lucky there.
So all of this, you've been lucky to have state partnership. You have been lucky or hope to be lucky with some federal funds as well.
Yes, absolutely.
But that raises the question of money. And of course, somebody who is in charge of this particular division at FIU in terms of operations, somebody who's been involved with the arts, you are used to making every penny count.
Absolutely.
Because budgets are...
State dollars are very tight.
Yes, dollars are tight. Today begins not only hurricane season, but also the special session on property tax reform. And there are in the Senate a couple of bills proposed for a constitutional amendment. I am sure that you, all the other council members, and your staff have really looked at this. What, in its current form, would be the impact on the residents in Cutler Bay?
Absolutely. So in its current form, without any changes, what was proposed was a $250,000 homestead exemption, essentially across the board, blanket, and then that would eventually ramp up to $500,000. So of course, just any, the layman, anybody who doesn't really follow or understand where, money goes or how the state funds are used, or might not trust government to use state funds, which, there have been plenty of cases in which that's probably accurate. Would just say, I can save a couple $1,000s, or, how dependent upon, the value of your home. The problem, what I would say as it pertains to Cutler Bay, with the $250,000 cap, we have about 39% of our income, so of our incoming money, comes from ad valorem taxes. If we take out the $250,000 homestead right there, right off the top, that would be about $4.3 million, or about a 37% cut to our ad valorem income. Luckily, we do have a lot of businesses and a lot of other entities that pay property tax, but just from a residential standpoint, a $4.3 million cut. Now, before any of this discussion on property tax reform is coming to be, and whatever the implications are, if you just look at our ad valorem, it's about 12 million, a little bit over 12 million. If you look at our police budget, the budget we spend just on policing, it's about the same. So when the discussion was first happening about completely eliminating ad valorem taxes without any sort of a replacement mechanism, you get rid of the funds coming in, but I still need to pay my police. I still need to protect our city, our town. Now, granted, the governor has said that municipalities and any of these entities would still be required to use whatever ad valorem that is coming in to pay for policing and for those types of entities. However, if you're cutting back as much as you're cutting back, you still need to make up the difference somewhere else. And I think that's what really comes into play for municipalities like Cutler Bay and all the other municipalities here in Dade County. If we take a $4.3 million cut, there's only so many grants that I can apply for and successfully get that we can. And we've probably been one of the most successful municipalities when it comes to bringing in grant funding for projects. 4.3 million is a big number to even have to try to come up with, let alone once that exemption number balloons to 500. Now I'm looking at having to come up with almost 70%, 75% of that ad valorem number. So then you're looking at cuts, especially if we're mandated to have to pay for certain things. You're looking at cuts to infrastructure. You're looking at cuts to being able to do projects. God forbid we get a massive hurricane that comes through, destroys anything infrastructure-wise within our town. We would deplete our reserve account, so much quicker if we had to continue to pull money from it for other things that otherwise we were able to do. The level of service we provide, we do 17 free events a year at the moment, and it always can grow for our residents, for the communities, for people that aren't even our residents to come in. We do holiday golf cart parades, we do chili cook-offs, wing cook-off, we do all sorts of things to just try to bring our community in, which is what makes Cutler Bay this family-friendly atmosphere, this small town feel. We'd have to seriously look at cutting back on a lot of that addition because none of that is mandated in the current form of the legislation. So yes, I mean, if you paid off your home, you still have to pay your property taxes. Of course, you would get some sort of relief. You might not be insured. You might be self-insured. The vast majority of our residents in Cutler Bay, and I would probably say throughout the county, have mortgages on homes that they own, if they're lucky enough to be able to own a home. Mm-hmm. So we have to pay our taxes through that. We have to pay our insurances through that. We can't just get rid of insurance. What I wish the legislature would do is tackle property insurance more so than property taxes. As a homeowner, I mean, me and my wife were lucky enough, we bought at a time in which we could afford to buy because property values were lower. They're much higher now. I always joke that if we sold our house today in Cutler Bay, I'd have to move out of Dade County. I would not be able, for what it's worth. But our homeowner's insurance when we first bought the house was $3,000 a year. It's ballooned since then to over 10,000. That's the runaway train that's killing people's their budgets, their finances. If all of a sudden every year your homeowner's insurance is going up 1,000, 2,000, doubling, and if you already own your home and you're already on a homestead exemption property where it can only go up 3%, that's what is really hitting people in the paychecks, in their pocketbooks. That's what's preventing people from being able to buy groceries and food, other than the cost of living, which is exploding. So I understand there's a political need to want to touch property taxes. At the end of the day, it's going to benefit a lot more people who can afford to pay their property taxes than it's going to benefit anybody else. And it's going to hurt all of the municipalities, including the county, in which all the services that we all rely on come from.
Well, somebody was pointing out the library has its own tax. Yeah. The Children's Trust has its own tax. All of those would be affected.
So anything that our residents, not just in Cutler Bay, but I mean, if you look at it in the state of Florida as a whole, anything that we do from a municipal standpoint, any programming, if you have a swimming pool, if you have athletics programs, if you have age-friendly programs, so like Cutler Bay, we're one of the age-friendly communities that we were recognized by AARP, and we do a lot of programming for them. a lot of that ends up being kind of sort of the first thing to go if you don't have funds to pay for it, if we have to pay for other things that are necessities, such as policing and such as, stormwater, although we do have separate stormwater funds. But the things that are being mandated by the governor in this current language, in this current proposal, eliminating a lot of that income is you have to balance your checkbook. We can't operate at a deficit. We're not the federal government where we can't just, spend and not worry about, who pays that bill later. We need a balanced budget every year. So if you tell me that I'm going to have less income coming in, then I need to cut my expenses. And unfortunately, that people need to understand what that means. Yes, you'll save money right up front. You won't be, and if you have a mortgage, you won't be paying that extra $100, $200, $300 a month, whatever your property tax bill is, but at the expense of all the other things that you've grown accustomed to.
And with the possibility in some municipalities of fees.
Oh, absolutely.
For example, community events may need to charge an entrance fee and that kind of thing. One of
the things that I've heard is, for people that are anti, where tax is a four-letter word, it's better the devil you know than the devil you don't. Mm-hmm. So if you vote and you get 60% across the state of Florida to eliminate or to have an exemption of $250,000 or higher on property taxes, a lot of municipalities, and not necessarily Cutler Bay, but a lot of municipalities, especially in more rural areas of the state that don't have tourism income, they don't have anything else coming in, they need to balance their budgets as well. So what you get with property taxes. Should there be carve-outs for specific instances, perhaps people that have been in their homes for a very long period of time, people on fixed incomes, people 65 or older? Absolutely, explore those, but a blanket $250,000+ exemption, that's really, sure, it's going to help mom and pop here and there, but it's really going to help out those people with those multi-million-dollar properties.
Oh, absolutely. So let's be optimistic.
Sure.
Let us say the legislature will come up with a wonderful solution.
Okay.
So you have demonstrated time and again your aptitude for and your commitment to public service to the point where you are now declared candidate for mayor of Cutler Bay. All things being ideal, what is your vision? Where do you see Cutler Bay in 2 years and 4 years and so forth?
So we've done, and I've had the honor, like I said, of being on the council for 8 years. We've made a lot of progress. There's a lot more that can be done. We have a lot of planes in the air, so to speak, that we need to land. That I think, being able to serve as mayor, I would help to guide that process so that we can continue to move forward in the best way possible. Case in point, we have the South End Mall redevelopment. That's going to be South Place City Center. That entire district, $1.5 billion redevelopment, where we're looking at essentially a brand new economic hub for restaurants, for retail, for medical offices, for law offices, for high-end jobs, for working jobs, for essentially across the board opportunities for our residents to have income close to home, where you don't have to get in your car and drive the hour plus just to go to Dade Land, to South Miami, to Coral Gate, wherever you're working. That property is also essentially attached, for the most part, to the BRT, which the BRT has had its own hiccups and its own ups and downs. We can only work with our partners in the county to try to improve that as much as we possibly can so that it actually becomes something that our residents can utilize and use. Because what we really want to do is get as many of these cars off the road. Traffic's miserable. I have been in Cutler Bay my whole life. I work at FIU. It's a minimum of 45 minutes on a good day to get to work in the morning. It's a minimum of an hour to get home. I'm in it every day, so I understand the need to bring more jobs, more opportunity to Cutler Bay, to the South Dade area. So if we can do that, if we can show all the developers and we can show the world what Cutler Bay can be as this gem in South Dade, where we can have these jobs, have these opportunities, have more hotels, have more arts, more everything, more programming, then people don't have to leave Cutler Bay and they don't have to leave South Dade as much as they currently are. They can work in their own backyards, make their own money. I think also maintaining that small town feel. making sure that we don't get anybody on the council that's going to be, I don't want to say pro overdevelopment, but that's going to be in the pocket of developers that are going to be able to kind of do whatever they want, develop whatever they want, just so that these companies can make their money at the expense of the lifestyles of our residents. We can't do that. We've seen time and time again in other municipalities, constant like blowing up of buildings, constant buildings going up 5-6 stories. The density alone, it's going to completely transform areas that probably can't handle that type of density, and then B, just the character of those areas. There's a proposed building on Old Cutler just north of us. So right now, you drive down Old Cutler Road. It's beautiful. You can go bike riding. You can go running. There's a lot of trees, a lot of nice things to look at. It's a nice area. But if all of a sudden you replace some of that with high-end density and supermarkets and hotels and this and that, the amount of cars alone entering and exiting Old Cutler right there is going to be it's already unbearable in rush hour. It's going to be miserable throughout the rest of the day. So it's really a matter of my vision for the town is continuing the growth we've had, the smart growth we've had, and shepherding a new generation of that into the town. We can open up our legacy park. We can open up our town center. That's going to essentially be Central Park. We're going to do all of our events there. I want to do, holiday events, food farmers markets and Christmas markets and food trucks and just everything that we can to continue to bring people together. And ultimately just continue to do what we've been doing, really. I mean, I can say that as somebody who's been on the council now and have been working tirelessly with our council, with our mayor, with our town staff to kind of put Cutler Bay on that trajectory. And it's really just wanting to continue that trajectory and make it even better.
Well, I look forward to seeing the results. I drive now and again down Old Cutler Road, and I went to an event a couple of months ago at one of the schools in Cutler Bay, and the neighborhood feel was just marvelous. It really did have an incredibly warm feel about it. So I wish all the best and good luck with your campaign, and thank you for being with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. And if anybody wants to know and follow the campaign, you can go to www.bjd.vote. You can sign up for meeting me one-on-one, either in person, via Zoom. We'll just have a conversation. Mainly it's for Cutler Bay residents, of course. I want to hear from every single Cutler Bay resident that I can. Anybody that has anything they want to talk about, things that they like that's going on, things that they don't like that's going on. I want to know all of it, because I think the best way that we can effectively lead and effectively govern is by having that open communication with the residents. We are elected by the residents to represent them. And as mayor, that's one of my priorities, is to make sure that the residents feel heard and have every opportunity that they can to meet with their mayor, to meet with their council outside of town council meetings, because not everybody can make it at 6 p.m. on a third Wednesday of the month. So it's really about being more transparent, more active, and being more available to our residents. So bjd.vote. Anybody, whether you're a Cutler Bay resident or not, come on, visit, take a look, learn more about me, learn more about the campaign. And I'm just thankful for the opportunity.